And so I thought I would talk today about what really happens when you move to a foreign country. So let's get right to it. Bonjour les amis, hello everyone, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back for those of you who've been here before. My name is Karen. I am an American entrepreneur, designer, and author, as well as a new resident in France. And since I moved here last year, so much has happened, so much has changed about my life. So I like to talk about that and creativity and business and all sorts of things here on this channel. I would like to start this video with a question for you all, and that is, have you ever just thought about picking it all up and putting it in a little moving truck, giving most of it away maybe, or selling some of it, and just starting a new life somewhere else in a land far, far away? I had, before I actually did move to France. I always thought it would be maybe later in my life when I would get myself a little apartment in Paris and I would have this happy kind of single lady life, just wandering through the pretty streets and sitting in cafes and reading newspapers in French and perfecting my French language and all of that. That was a dream that I had in the back of my mind, but the way it actually all went down was very different, because it's not always exactly what you would think, right? So I thought I would share some of the things that I've noticed. Some of them are wonderful, some of them have been challenging. The first thing that I learned about moving to a new country is that it's not just the landscape that changes when you arrive, it's everything that changes. And what do I mean by that? I mean the taste of food, the way things work, cultural interactions, just everything is different, the way people approach society, making friends, all of that. It's all just a different system and a different set of sensory experiences that you have to stay open to. I mean, I'll give you an example. This week is Thanksgiving here in, here in France, there is no Thanksgiving, but for me, tomorrow is Thanksgiving. It will be the Thursday of Thanksgiving. For everyone else here in France, it's just another day to go to work. So aside from the other expats who are living here, of course, but it just, things like that are so important in the US are just, it's not a thing here. And then there are other things here that are very important. So I think that it was the first and most important thing that I realized being a new resident here in France. Okay, the second thing is that, as some of you may know, I actually moved to France because I met a French guy and we got married, and we decided to make our life here for a wide variety of reasons. Number one of which, I was like, I get to live in Paris. I mean, who doesn't want that? I realized though that when your status changes in a new country, you change, everything changes. And so what do I mean by that? Well, in the US, I was a successful entrepreneur. I was a very independent New York single woman, just conquering, conquering the city and working hard to achieve my dreams and everything. And I really felt that, I just knew how things worked. I just knew how to get things done. And I got things done, obviously with the help of a lot of other people, but just, I understood very deeply how the systems there work. Here in France, I do hit walls, almost every day something comes up where I just don't understand, exactly how the system works. And that could be from, as I've talked about many times before, my driver's license, getting my residence permit. And I am very lucky because I do have a wonderful husband who helps me to navigate the system, and he gives me a lot of confidence. But there have been a lot of times where I just had to do things myself, and I just have to fumble through it. And I've had to get used to getting to something that is don't know if it's unique to just France, but it's something that I wasn't used to. And it's that sometimes you do get a no first before you get a yes when you are, for example, trying to do something within the French administration. Now that I know, it's not a surprise anymore, but in the beginning it was very, I just couldn't I was very organized, have all my documents, and still getting rejected for something small and having to kind of go through processes again more than once. The system is different, and I find myself opening up to that now and saying, okay, well, this is how it works here. I knew how it worked, but it doesn't work the same way, and that's fine, and that's great. And there are so many things here that work even better. So it's really just me who has to adapt. And I found it surprising at first, but it's really an opportunity for growth. When I came to France, I received a letter that invited me to an obligatory 4 days worth of resident training. It's called La Formation Civique, and it is presented by the Office of Immigration and Integration here in France. And so you go for 4 full days. It's spaced out over like a month or 5 weeks, depending on when they schedule you. And they do schedule it pretty much in advance for the most part, where you learn all about French history, the kings and queens of France, but also the modern services that are available to you as a resident, your rights and your responsibilities as a resident in France, just all kinds of really cool things. And it's just the first time in my life where I'm an immigrant. It really moved me to think, okay, I'm here with this group of people who are also pursuing their dreams, starting a new life. And even now it gets me a little teared up because it's such a big thing, but I really enjoyed it. I learned so much. I have so much still to learn. My status has completely changed, and I just think it's such a fascinating opportunity to grow as a person. Then the third thing would be, as a new resident of a different country, you are definitely going to find yourself in an interesting new relationship with work. And that can mean different things depending on which country you move to. I'm just speaking on behalf of my experience here in France. It has been absolutely life-changing. When I used to come to France by myself and I would stay for a month or two and I would take a language class and I would work remotely, I was still pretty much on my New York schedule and I was doing things the way I would always do them. But when I moved here last year, I found myself just really turned upside down by the way that life-work balance is prioritized here as opposed to the other way around, which is at least the way that I worked in the States. And I know the way a lot of my friends and colleagues tended to work as well and still do. So for example, when my husband comes home from work, he generally doesn't work in the evenings. I mean, rarely he'll take a phone call or have to answer an email, but it's just not a thing. When he's home, he is fully available to me for my enjoyment and for us to do fun things together, to cook together. That's our time, and the same goes for weekends, and the same goes for the 9 weeks of vacation that he has every year. And now, of course, I'm an entrepreneur, so I've always been able to have that liberty to take off time if I want to. That being said, in the States, I rarely ever did. I mean, if I went away for a week, it was like, whoa, big deal. But it's just not like that here. And that change in culture has just been mind-blowing for me. And it's taking me time, but I'm starting to adapt to it. And I don't think I can ever go back to the other way because it's so wonderful to feel refreshed and excited about your work and not feel tired all the time. And to just understand that it's, we're meant to have time to just relax and enjoy. Parce que la vie est belle. Life is beautiful. And the fourth thing is that when you change countries, you may find that even your own style will change. I was looking through some photos of myself recently from the before times in New York and from now, and there really is this shift in how I'm dressing, my hair, and it's really interesting because of course there's just a ton of stuff out there on the internet about French beauty and the way that French women maybe are more natural, a little bit less makeup, things like that. But I am starting to embrace that myself. I really like it. Like I used to always try to straighten my hair and make it not wavy, and now I've sort of just decided to embrace the curls or the waves as they are. It's very interesting to see that style evolution. And even when you shop for clothes here in France, the clothes are different. I mean, of course, we have some brands that are the same as in the States. Often the choices, just the line of things or the fabrics are just different. And I'm really enjoying that personal evolution of my style. Okay, so another really important thing, what is this, number five, is that, you have a lot to learn and you don't even know what you don't know until you get in there on the ground. And it's so interesting because now that I'm just a little bit on my way, I've done some of the administrative things, I've gotten myself settled, I've even started a company in France, that I see people, online who are just at the beginning of that journey and they're like thinking about moving to France, or somewhere else, or they're taking those first steps to figure out what type of visa to get. I remember that very beginning and feeling so much just anxiety and wanting, just, that wanting to know, that wanting to be able to grasp, like, okay, what exactly do I have to do? Why am I getting conflicting information? So if there are any of you out there who are at that part of the process, I would just say to you, just go one step at a time. I will say with the French administration, be as prepared as you can. Make sure you have recent copies of documents, which typically for them will mean like within 3 months, like if it's for a bill or a proof of your residence and things like that. Maybe have an extra copy or two of things, and just be prepared that with all the things that you're going to have to learn, with all the systems you're going to have to start to understand, like all over again, you can and you will adapt. You will triumph. It just may take some time. And so you just have to be open to the fact that, hey, I'm going to get in there on the ground. And once I'm there, like I can see, I take it one step at a time. If you do that, you'll be good. Okay, so my sixth point would be that you're going to feel really lucky and really elated, much of the time, because it's very exciting to move to a beautiful new place where, maybe you've always admired the culture and there's just this sense of a fresh chapter that's opening in your life. And that's wonderful. But you will have times of, anxiety. So my point is, it's not all champagne and croissant. You will wonder how you're gonna get through some of the struggles. I definitely have experienced some hits to my confidence, just because, again, in the States, I just, like, New York was my town, after so many years of living there. And I just felt very confident, like just getting things done, And here I've had to really say, okay, no, Karen, you don't know how to get things done, and you better just go humbly forward and understand that this is all new to you. You have to be, very respectful and very, again, I know I used the word already, but just very, very open to learning and to experiencing things in a new way and not staying in a box from the before times, because it won't work if you do that. Laugh as much as you possibly can. And when you can't do that, I must admit, I've gone to McDonald's a couple of times in very dire times and just eaten a cheeseburger and drank a Diet Coke and just cried a little bit to myself. And then things were much better. If that helps you, don't be a hero. The whole first year I was here, I was really literally pinching myself daily. I was walking around the streets saying to myself, I live here, I live in Paris. Oh, I'm married. I'm married. I found a wonderful man that I wanted to marry, and I moved to France and I live in France with him. Now, in that second year of, being a new French resident, I recently read an article, a post by another woman who's lived in France for 10 years. And she said that her second year was actually the most difficult. That first, incredible excitement and just disbelief about your good fortune at living in France is starting to wear off, and or you're getting used to it. It's not wearing off. You're acclimating into your life, and then you find that you still have your life to deal with, and all the other things that you were already dealing with or that you want to deal with, those things are all still there. I'll keep you posted as my journey continues. Yeah, and so lastly, I think I would just say that you don't move to a new country to solve yourself, right? So, my mom always says, wherever you go, there you are. And that's really true. Whatever baggage, literal and figurative baggage, that you bring with you to your new home in a new country, it will still be there with you, and you will still have to deal with whatever difficult issues you have had in your life. You may even deal with a bit of loneliness or that feeling of being an outsider, or you may find it a little bit more difficult to make friends because of the language barrier or the cultural barriers. For example, here in France, it's a little bit more difficult to make friends. It's just a more formal, and it's a longer process. So my advice to you is to make sure that if you dream of moving somewhere, or if you have the occasion to move somewhere because something happens to you in your life with your work or a relationship, for example, that you really take the time to do some good work and self-reflection before you go, to make sure that you're feeling really strong and that you're also being kind to yourself and gentle and giving yourself plenty of space to stumble and to make mistakes and to learn, because I promise you the opportunity to live in a completely new way is really worth it. It's worth all the effort. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much, and I hope you'll leave me a comment about where you are in your journey, or if you're living in another country or planning to live in another country. And also, I write about this type of stuff over on my free newsletter. It's called Substack. If you just look up my name, Karen Bussin, you can follow me there or on Instagram. So have a great day. Bonne journée, les amis, et à bientôt. Okay, see you soon.